that we approve 282 change orders and place 20 in pending status and deny one for reasons given by staff.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Chandriga Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 9 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve all 9. Staff requests approval of the prior pending change orders.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Next item is consideration and approval of the Orleans Parish 2024 Q1 supplemental tax roll for tax years 2021 through 2024.
Good morning, Tanisha Malvo on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Staff has received the supplemental tax rolls for calendar year 2024 first quarter for tax years 2021 through 2024 for Orleans Parish. That includes the supplemental electronic roll, the TC 33 abstracts, and the millage report for those years. The quietus and the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's approval letter are not required for the supplemental roll as it was previously filed during the approval process of the 2024 tax roll. Please note that the LTC values for public service and bank and insurance values did not change. The assessor has provided an affidavit attesting that the information contained in the supplemental tax roll is correct and that all affected taxpayers were timely notified. The reasons for these supplemental rolls are as follows. For the real properties, the reason being canceled homestead exemption and or age freeze removal due to the owner being deceased or an heir with usufruct or veterans exemptions correction. For personal property, these properties were erroneously omitted from the tax roll. Therefore, staff requests approval of the Orleans Parish supplemental tax roll for calendar year 2024 first quarter for tax years 2021 through 2024.
Any questions from the commission? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the supplemental tax rolls for Orleans Parish.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the appeal section. Mr. Hoffman.
If you'll be testifying in any of today's appeals, I'll have you stand up. I'm going to administer an oath to all of you at the same time, but I'll indicate to you individually to affirm the oath that will state I do, and I'll ask you to also state your name. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth? Praisers, if you will unmute. I will administer an oath and indicate to you individually to affirm the oath. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mike?
Mike Cater, I do.
Marquet?
Marquet Palmer, I do.
Joshua?
Joshua Laverne, I do.
Tanya?
Tanya Butler, I do.
Cody?
Lowry, I do.
And Randy?
Randy Harrington, I do.
Thank you.
All right, the first appeal we'll take up today is the appeal of Aaron A. Schneider versus Assessor Errol G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-71067.
I believe we come to a consent agreement on this one. David Mejia, the value we've agreed upon was $440.
That's correct. Yes. Yes. We agreed to 440,000.
Thank you. The taxpayers confirm they agree to the value and the assessor's office have. So do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the agreement between the assessor's office and the owner of the property.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Next, we'll take up the appeal of Davis Rogan versus Assessor Earl G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-72069.
Good morning.
Hello and good morning. My name is Davis Rogan. I have a house on the corner of Governor Nichols and Murray, 1330 Governor Nichols. And I'm protesting my assessment mostly on quality of life issues. I'd like to draw your attention to an article from the Times-Picayune on June 5th. Crime-ridden 24-hour Treme tire shop seized in multi-agency raid. This is 3 blocks from my house, where according to the director of the DA's Office of Data-Informed Community Engagement, residents were 28% more likely to become a crime victim in this corridor 3 blocks from my house. I went and looked on the LexisNexis community crime map for a 3-block radius. And since May 15th, there have been 9 reported crimes in a 3-block radius of my house: theft, aggravated assault, attempted auto theft. If you go within 6 blocks of my house, you start to add sexual assault. On Monday, June 3rd, someone broke into my car and stole my tire inflator. I didn't report that. Sundays up and down Claiborne Avenue are a complete parking lot. There's a homeless encampment 3 blocks from my house. I'm regularly picking up human feces, needles, and condoms. The street floods every time it rains, and we're some of the last people to get power restored. So these are some of the reasons why I feel like my assessment is a little on the high side. If you want to talk about the comps, the values of the property or in the area, lots of private equity companies have come and bought up all the houses around there to try to make them STRs. They're not going to allow it to be STRs. So I feel like I'm being assessed on a bubble. Also, as the pictures that you see, when I purchased the house, I was able to renovate the properties that I rent, but I was not able to renovate my own, sort of a case of the cobbler's shoe. So my part that I live in has not been fully improved. So these are some of the reasons why I feel like the amount that it had been increased in the past couple of times, about $30,000, seemed fair to me, and this sort of tripling in value just sort of struck me as odd.
Thank you. New Orleans Assessor's Office?
Good morning, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property is in St. Augustine or the New Treme area. It's been definitely affected by gentrification, and short-term rentals have driven up the property value a lot. In preparing for this appeal, I visited the property. It has some condition issues. It's definitely subpar. And we realized that we probably needed to come down on the value. And to be frankly honest, I thought it was going to be more than what I landed at. But when I ran the numbers, apparently there's a big influx of people gobbling up these properties that are in need of repairs or below standards and paying a pretty big penny for them. My value, which I didn't include in an appraisal, was very close to our original value and very close to the tax commission. Our original value placed on it by the CAMA system was $479,100. The board review knocked it down to $447. The tax commission appraised it at $440. We offered to settle at $440. And I do feel for the taxpayer. I thought that the value appeared it would be lower, but the statistics just don't show that. The sales don't show that. And I added a few sales in there, and the average median price is 188 to 180. The minimum price I could find is 131, and he's actually at below the minimum. He's at 131.42. The minimum I could find was 131.93 a square. So I think that at the 440, it's a supportable number just based off of the statistics that I found, and based off of the conclusion of the tax commission as well. But yes, it's definitely needs some work, and it's just, I think it's an area thing. But I'm here for the nuts and bolts of it and the brick and mortar of the property.
Okay, can we hear from the LTC appraiser?
Hey, Miss Sandy, we can't hear you. Turn your mic on, please.
Okay. Sandy Kennedy here. I appraised the property at 440. The land value was 63.5 and the improvement value of 376,500.
Any questions from the commission? Anything you wanted to add, Mr. Rogan?
No, simply that the crime and quality of life issues, I think, should affect the value of this property.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no questions, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the assessor's agreement with the LTC appraisal of 63,500 in land improvements, 376,500, a total of 440,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
So we're back where we started. All right. Thought I'd give it a try. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have the appeal of Newcomb Properties LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76-200.
Good morning. You can go ahead and get
Morning,
started.
Commissioner. Want me to go? Go ahead. Mr. Schmidt and I have met in the hallway and, we've known each other for a few years now. We decided to split the difference on the 21 Newcomb, and we have agreed on a value of 1.9 mil.
I
concur. Yes, Your Commissioner.
We have an agreement between the taxpayer and the assessor's office. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to the agreement between the assessor and the property owner for 1.9 million total value.
David, you want to give us the split on it? So
Yes,
make
sir.
sure we have it for the record.
I have it, David.
Okay.
It's 855,000 on the land, 1,045,000 on improvements, which equal a total 1.9 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Yeah, we have signed letters on the other. That was the only one we didn't have on the record. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Justin.
Next, we have the appeal of 1529 Adams Street versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-77015.
Is not present. Oh,
Yeah. Yes.
Believe we reached a settlement with the assessor.
Yes. This is Sandrika, this is on Adams, 7015.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is a similar situation. David Mejia, again, was Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We've agreed upon a value of 300,000 as a consent agreement. I believe the taxpayer is in agreement with that.
I'm in agreement with that.
we have an agreement between the taxpayer and the assessor's office. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the offer of 300,000, agreed on between the parish assessor's office and the owner, and that'll be 108,000 for the land, 192,000 for the imp.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Next, we have the appeal of 318 North White LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-72028.
Yep. I suspected this might be next. So, this one, we have also reached an agreement. With the assessor.
Yes, David Mejia, once again, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, 318 North White, docket number ending in 23221720028. We've agreed upon a value, a consent agreement of 380,000.
And the taxpayer agrees with that?
I did.
Okay, we have an agreement between the assessor's office and the taxpayer. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, we have a motion to,
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lott.
Next, we have the appeal of Pelican Properties of Louisiana LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76-046.
Good morning. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Ben Billings. I'm here on behalf of Pelican Properties of Louisiana LLC. Seeking an appeal for the property at 2501 Delachase Street in New Orleans, 70115. I can, shall I kind of go through the numbers real quick that as far as, okay. So the originally assessed value was $410,000. I had sought a value on the property of $245,000. That was based on an appraisal, which was approximately 3 years old at the time. I understand that's outside of the usual window that they can be considered for. The LTC appraisal came in at $316,000. I had reached out and indicated that I'd be willing to accept the LTC's appraisal amount for this property.
Thank you. New Orleans Assessor's Office?
Good morning. Gregory Miller with the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. Looking at the property at 2501 Delachase Street. Originally upon inspection of the property, we originally had the property valued at $410,000. It was based on the property being in good condition. On exterior inspection, it was noted that the property was in fact in average condition. We did an independent appraisal and came up with a value of $360,000. The value, the property is a fourplex with 2 single-family units on the same lot in rear of the fourplex. We did consider the property an average value on our appraisal. We used comparables that bracketed the property in condition, one in fair condition, one in very good condition, one in excellent, made and final that was in very good condition, made adjustments for the differences in condition, came up with a comparable sale market value of, comparable sales rendered value of $356,500. We also, this property being a 6-unit building, did the market rent approach to value. That resulted in a value of $364,500. We ended at a value of $360,000 based on those 2 criteria. And the only difference it looked like between that and the tax commission appraisal was the adjustments made for the condition. And some of the information that was used was differing as far as comparable sale size. It appeared that rendered a lower price per square foot for the rent values for the tax commission appraisal. We had a slightly higher value for the rent rates per square foot, but a lower GRM, and considered that was a good indication of the value. Additionally, the comparable sales approach for the tax commission appraisal had a range that was within our value. It just looked like the weighted average of those, they came out much lower at 316.
Thank you.
May I add one more note? Is that okay? If I could, just looking at the two appraisals, the one that was subsequently requested by OPAO and the one that was requested by LTC, the three properties that are included as comps in the LTC's appraisal are all within the assessment area of Milendale, and they are all in comparable condition, average condition, which is what the condition was agreed to be by both appraisers. Whereas each of the four properties that were included in the comps for OPAO's appraisal were either outside of the Milendale assessment area or in better condition than my property. And so given that there are two appraisals in hand, trying to make a determination as to which one has fewer deficiencies and is more accurate, on that basis, the fact that all four of the comps that were in OPAO's appraisal are either outside of the assessment area in that they're south of the St. Charles southern border or east of the Louisiana Avenue eastern border, or in that we have two properties in very good condition and one property in excellent condition. It seems to me that all of those aspects are going to skew the values upward in the appraisal that OPAO performed. For those reasons, because all four properties have a deficiency in the OPAO appraisal, in my opinion, for those reasons, because all three of the properties in LTC's comps are in fact inside the assessment area and in comparable condition, I believe that the LTC's appraisal is a more legitimate and accurate reflection of the property's value.
Okay, thank you. Can we hear from the LTC appraiser first? And we'll sure.
Hey, Marquez, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Good morning. I appraised the property at $316,000 with a disputed land value of $34,100 and an improvement value of $281,900. I think Mr. Billings did a really good job in explaining what I was going to explain. My comps were in average condition overall, number one and number three. Number two was in excellent condition, and as I've stated in the past, typically properties that are superior in condition produce a higher end of value. For that reason, I went with the predominant value, which was $316,000. I didn't feel it was fair to do a weighted value because that one cell in excellent condition is going to pull the value up farther than necessary. Let's see, my rent, the income approach came out at $315,400, which was right in line with the $316,000 value.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yes, sir. The only difference we saw with the comparable sales for the LTC appraisal is they were all much larger in square footage. There were none that were smaller, so the adjustments for the square footage diminished the value quite a bit.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the LTC's appraisal of 316,000. That's 34,100 for the land and 281,900 for the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Next, we have the appeal of Dana D. Atchison versus Assessor L.G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76236.
Just print one. All right. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Dana Atchison. I have 4 rental properties, 4 rental condos in one building, and I have my residence at 922 Arabella Street, and I'm challenging the assessments of all properties. Let's start with the residence, please. I bought 922 Arabella 4 years ago. It's in okay shape. It's not bad. It's not in bad shape. Um, the, I submitted comparables for sales. I'm sorry, I submitted comparables for sales that were very close to the house. In one case, it was just a block up. The comparables that the Orleans Parish submitted were not as close to my house. But the comparables I submitted ranged anywhere from 734, 850, 579, 579. I felt that given that the assessment that was made on my house was too much. I'm not exactly sure why it's gone up since I bought it as much as it has. It went up the first year I bought it. I understand that I paid more than what the assessment was, but it's gone up substantially since then. I'll also note that my fixed mortgage on it, my fixed mortgage rate in the last year because of insurance and because of the property tax has now gone up $1,345 a month. And that's due in part to the property tax, but also the insurance that's gone up substantially. I've submitted pictures of my property. My property's not in as good a shape as the properties around me that are assessed at far less in the $700,000 range. I don't have a big flashy kitchen. I'm fine with my kitchen, but it's not a big flashy kitchen. My backyard is dirt. There's not a big travertine swimming pool in the back. The fence around it is just in terrible shape. At some point, I'll replace it, but the property is not in great shape. In addition, the city of New Orleans came in and dug up the street in front of my house and threw in, it hasn't fixed it. So we've now got these foot-deep potholes. In some cases, we've set trash cans inside the potholes directly in front of my house so people won't drive into them when it rains. It's also very difficult now to get into my driveway because of those potholes. And I don't see the city fixing those anytime soon. I've called the city council office and they're just, there's nothing they can do. It's on the list of things to fix one day. So I feel like my property value's actually gone down since I bought the house.
Thank you. New Orleans Assessor's Office?
Good morning, Gregory Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 922 Arabella Street. And this particular property, we, our independent analysis arrived at a value that was in agreement with the Louisiana Tax Commission's appraisal. We agree with their value and we submitted a letter stating that. And
Can we hear from the Louisiana Tax Appraiser?
Yes, Mike Cater, Louisiana Tax Commission. The subject is a single-family property located at 922 Arabella Street in New Orleans. The appeal was for both site and improvement values. The sales approach was considered the best approach to estimate these values. To determine the site value, a vacant land sales grid was completed. 3 sales were selected and used. The grid determined the value of the site at $324,000. To determine the subject's improved value, a sales grid of improved properties was completed. 3 sales were selected and used. Most required adjustments related to size differences in both site and improvements. Final estimated value was indicated at $1,150,000, with land being at $324,000 and improvements at $826,000.
Okay, thank you.
May I respond to that, please? Respectfully, the houses across the street that's identical to mine, but actually has a camelback and substantial improvements is in the $700,000 range. The house next door, which is substantially similar to mine, except that it has a beautiful pool, travertine, backyard, everything is in the $700,000 range, and it's got a second story as well.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
I'd like to just add to, I'm not looking for a ridiculously low assessment. I'm looking for something that's equitable. Please.
Any questions from the commission? Here none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. Looking to accept the LTC's appraisal of 1.15 million. That's 325,000 for the land, 826,600 for the improvement.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I would like to.
Hold on, ma'am. You don't speak yet. I'm sorry. Is there any discussion from the commission on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is adopted.
So, so it's irrelevant that a house, a block up that was identical to mine was on the market. It was not taken into account. I submitted this.
Ma'am,
It's sold.
we based our decision on the facts that's presented to us. Once again, you're entitled, if you want to appeal this decision, you're welcome to appeal it to the Board of Appeals.
Well, right.
Thank you.
Okay, can we move on to the condos, the 4 condos that I am challenging, please? Thank you.
Next, we have the appeal of Brodum Properties LLC versus Assessor Earl G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76237.
I paid substantially less for these properties than what they're now being appraised at. I note that a lot of people in the building have spent, you know, tens of thousands of dollars updating their their properties, in part because they live there. They've put in central air, they've put in new flooring, they've put in new everything. I have not done that on my properties. They're rental properties. I tend to rent to students who aren't going to pay for those kind of luxuries in there. So I think that while some of the units in the building are very, very nice, my units are moderate and don't merit the same assessment that the others do. I submitted photos of the properties on the inside. I know that the assessor hasn't been able to get inside. I'm happy to give the assessor a tour of the properties. I've got one open right now. I've got old carpet in them. I've got wall units in them. There's again, no central air, no travertine, you know, or tile flooring, no hardwood flooring, no new kitchens. Happy to give the assessor a tour of the inside, but mine are not as nice as the other ones. They also do not come with parking. There are 8 parking spaces for the 32-unit building. They were assigned about 40 years ago. None of my units have parking, but they are assessed at the same rate as the others that do have parking.
Thank you. New Orleans Assessor's Office.
They made, thank you, are considerably higher. We looked at the conditions, even a condition adjustment of $25 a square foot, which would be between the two, would derive a value somewhere between our value and the tax commission's value of 125, and that is considered would be reasonable. Based on that, again, our value looks like it is in line with the range of values, could be a little bit high based on the condition adjustments.
Okay, thank you. LTC Appraiser.
Good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
Randy Harrington. I'm testifying on behalf of reports that Reed Huval performed on, there's 4 condo units here. They all pretty much identical. Mr. Huval utilized a sales comparison approach, used 3 comparable sales. Came out to a total value of $125,000 with 32.2 land and 92.8 improvement. And it appears that our only discrepancy with the assessor's office and ours is the way we do adjustments. Could really go either way. You know, it's not a real big factor.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions from the commission?
Can I be clear on what exactly is being proposed as the assessment between these
You're
two?
asking for the value?
Yes.
So-
What are you proposing? I'm sorry,
prayer-
I'm confused between the two people speaking. What?
Our prayer was for the 145, but in consideration of the condition difference, we would be willing to split the difference in the two values of the Louisiana Tax Commission and ours of 145, which would render a value of 135.
Okay, so we all clear, the assessor's office is asking for 135, the LTC appraiser came in at 125. And the taxpayer is asking for 121.
I'm asking for 121. I think that's the fair value. And again, I don't have parking. So I think that needs to be taken into account. Mine is street parking. I do not have parking spaces, which is a big factor in what I can get for rent for these. I'll also point out my insurance has gone from $500, about $550 a year in the last couple of years to now over $2,000 a unit. I can't collect that from students. So I'm breaking even at best on these units right now.
Okay.
And that is the truth between assessments, property tax, insurance, and what I owe on the units and maintenance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have, any questions from the commission? Hearing none, may I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the LTC staff appraisal of land value at 32,200, improvements at 92,800, and a total value of 125,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection? Motion is adopted. Just to be clear, we're going to do these one at a time. Which one?
Oh,
Next, we have the appeal to Brodom Properties LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76238. And this is 801 Henry Clay Avenue, Unit 201.
in the interest of expediting this, I would agree to the appraisal that was passed on the last unit for all four.
With the LTC appraiser, the value we just said.
The value we just said.
Okay, is that agreeable?
Yes, Gregory Miller, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. And again, unfortunately, I wouldn't be in agreement with that. And only based on the size of the units, 532 square foot, with the adjustments being high for the LTC appraisal. Basically, that would be almost a total renovation for these properties, which would then in fact put them in either equal or a better condition than the comparable sales.
Thank you. Can we hear from Randy, the LTC appraiser?
Yes, again, same identical property, same value, 125,000 total with a land value of 32.2 and an improvement of 92.8.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Is there any discussion or any questions from the commission? Hearing any, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, just that way we don't have the same properties all at a different value. I'm proposing the $125,000 assessment. That's 32,200 for the land and 92,800 for the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Next, we have the appeal of Atchison Properties LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76239.
I would make the same arguments for this
Okay.
one.
Yohan, do you want to object?
I have nothing else to say at this point.
Okay, I have, since no objection from the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, we have a motion to accept the LTC appraisal. May I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll move again that we accept the LTC staff appraisal of land at 32,200 and improvements at 92.8 and a total of 125.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, last of the Brodom Properties is the appeal of Brodom Properties LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76240.
Same arguments, please.
Same response.
Okay, we have a agreement here. Do we have a motion to make?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the LTC staff appraisal for 32,200 land, improvements $92,800, total of 125,000.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, I apologize for being late. I had trouble parking.
Next, we have the appeal of Derek C. Houston versus Assessor L.G. Williams on the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-71109. It appears that the taxpayer is not present.
Okay, New Orleans Assessors Office.
Good morning. Once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property is 1524 Constant Street. Our original CAM evaluation was 541,500. The board review rendered a lowering of value of 448,200. Our independent analysis that we performed was 494. We did attempt to settle with this taxpayer at 418, which we felt was more than generous. The taxpayer refused. Didn't show, but we feel like since we made the offer on the table, we'll be willing to settle at the 418. And that's pretty much it on that one.
Can we hear from the LTC appraiser?
I appraised the property at 418,000 with an improvement value of 170,000 with the disputed land value of 248,000. I did use 3 comps within a half-a-mile radius in the Lower Garden District. I think we had a total of 21 populate within that half-mile distance. Your properties in average condition were 4,000 square feet and not comparable to the subject. So I did end up having to utilize 3 sales in very good condition. I noticed that the comparables that they used were in the Irish Channel, which overall has similar market conditions. I just didn't go out past half a mile. My issue with that appraisal was sale number 3 was from 2021. That was post-COVID. Values were outrageous during that time. I didn't feel like that comp should be utilized at all. Sale number 2, the quality of that sale was not comparable to the subject. The subject was pretty much a very simple shotgun home, 8-foot ceilings, very basic, small kitchen, dated appliances, dated flooring, wear and tear. It needed a new roof, which is why I put it in average fair condition. The cell number 2 that they utilized had 12 to 14-foot ceilings, custom built-ins, large kitchen, higher end appliances, higher end pine flooring. It was just altogether far superior to the subject. So even if I took their sale number 1, which was comparable, when I adjusted it, it came out to 399.6, which was within my range of value. Even if you leave it as is with the 428,679, that's within my range of value. I don't think the other 2 comps should be considered at all based on the reasons I just stated.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman. This is for the LTC. Why is there such a huge discrepancy in land value versus the parish assessor's office?
It is up to the taxpayer if they want to dispute the land value. I do try to explain that typically the land value is more conservative by the assessor's office. If they do want to ultimately dispute it, I have to use the land sales that I have, which tend to come out much higher than what the assessor has. The assessor, again, like I said, David might be able to explain it more. They typically go with a more conservative value in blanket areas and neighborhoods just to keep uniformity within a particular area. This particular taxpayer wanted to go ahead and dispute, so I had to run the actual land value, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
I just want to make sure for motion gets, y'all's land value is 98,300, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the $418,000 appraised value. That's 98,300 for the land $319,700 for the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of Kimberly M. Dooley versus Assessor LG Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221717179. And it appears the taxpayer is not present.
Okay, Orleans Assessor's Office.
Just wrote on my shirt, excuse me. David Mejia, once again, this is a condominium at 920 Polyfair, 204, the Cotton Mill Development. We offered a settlement of $607,000 that was verbally agreed upon, but the taxpayer never physically signed it. Our offer on the table was $607,000, and they're pretty tight numbers all the way around, but that's what we had offered, and they had accepted verbally, but not officially.
Okay, can we hear from the LTC appraiser?
Yes, sir. William Lowry with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I personally appraised the property at 920 Polyfair Street for Unit 204. We came to an undisputed land value of $59,900 and an improvements value of $540,100 for a total value of $600,000.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the New Orleans assessor, a total value of $607,000, a breakdown of $59,900 on land, $547,100 on the improvements.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of Benjamin Capel versus Assessor LG Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221731113. The taxpayer is not present.
Just give me 1 second. This is a reschedule. I had to add this in. Chandrika, can you repeat that docket number for me again?
Yes, that docket number is 23221731113.
2113, right?
That's correct, David. I think it's 2113.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm on the right property. Okay. David Mejia, once again, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property is 3027 Lafitte Street. This property, we actually had a little spirited debate at the office yesterday, and we were reviewing this property. And we ended up finding an Airbnb listing that in all respect to Reed, he would have probably never found it because we found it last minute. And it shows the property to be in very good to excellent condition. If he would have just known that and appraised it in a higher condition rating, we feel like it would have landed closer to our value. Our original value was $345,700. The board of review affirmed that number. Our independent analysis landed a little bit north of that at 368, which I felt was actually probably the right number, but we're not going to try to raise them. In this instance, based off of the Airbnb listing that we found showing it to be in excellent condition, we just we feel that the 345,700 is a well-supported number. And like I said, in respect to Reed, he would have not known that. We stumbled upon this very last minute as well. But our drive-by initially in the CAMA evaluation, we had it at a higher condition ranking from our visual inspection that we saw. So something triggered the appraiser at that moment that he felt that he or she felt that there was a higher condition rating. And it turned out to be true based on what we found.
Okay, thank you. Randy?
Yes, good morning. Randy Harrington on behalf of Reed Huval. Reed did the appraisal in average condition, evidently conversations with the owner and stuff, and David's probably right. I mean, something like that could have changed his outcome or at least his analysis. It was a double, like I said, done in average condition. The land was being disputed. He did a land analysis. sales comparison analysis, and an income approach. The income approach produced a value of 280,000, while sales comparison produced a value of 275, and he landed at 120,700 on the land. He settled on his sales comparison approach of a total value of 275 with 120,700 land and 154.3 improvement.
Thank you, Randy. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion. 345,700 on the appraised value. That'd be 120,700 on the land and 225,000 on the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, our final appeal of the day is the appeal of Joker LLC versus Assessor Errol G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76233.
New Orleans Assessor's Office.
David Mejia, once again, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. This is a vacant lot, 4335 State Street Drive. We have it valued at uniform $15 a square foot. The analysis by the tax commission supported our value. Our independent analysis was actually slightly north of that. For uniform purposes, we're trying to maintain the 49,500, which we feel are supported by all evidence that we've been presented.
Okay. Since the New Orleans Assessor's Office and the LTC appraiser value agree, does any of the board members have any questions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the value for vacant land at $49,500.
We have a motion. We're going to accept the LTC appraisal value, just so we don't give the city the win on that one.
Accept the LTC value.
We have a motion on the table. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
And please note for the record that the remainder of our agenda has either been settled or withdrawn.
Are there any other matters to appear before the commission today? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to adjourn.
Any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. We are adjourned at 10:00.